What's that? Is it 2013 again? It's 2016 and cash offers are still alive and well. So if you're a cash buyer, make sure you figure out what we believe is a fair potential cash discount. And then, gang, this is the age of the internet. Are real estate agents and loan officers becoming obsolete? You're going to want to hear this. It's Ask Jesse Howe right now.
San Diego. What's happening? Jesse Ibanez here. Home buyers, you got questions? Home sellers, you got questions too. Use them hashtags, gang. Get your frequently asked questions answered right here on the Ask Jesse Howe Show.
Fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you.
What's happening, gang? How about another dose of Ask Jesse Howe, the game show where we don't keep track of points, but you, home buyer or home seller, get your questions asked and answered on the show. Let's get into this. Oh, and I don't know what these questions are.
Yep.
Hopefully that's of some value, right?
Just keep it authentic.
Keep it authentic. All right, let's do this, Greg. Greg Kuchon, by the way, real estate consultant extraordinaire, Greenhouse Group. What you got for me, brother?
All right, Zillow Forum. We be bad. Oh yeah.
We be bad. Oh yeah.
Wants to know what is a fair all cash price when what is a fair all cash asking price for a home?
So when we were doing a bunch of work in the lost MIT era, about 10 years ago or so, there was sort of an unspoken rule with the banks, like when we were negotiating short sales and whatnot. And they wouldn't publish this because they'd probably get their hands slapped if they did, but they call it the 4% rule. You know, so for banks, when they were in lost MIT, they would take 4% less if it was all cash. Now, a couple caveats, of course. Number one is, I think, if we're calling the spade, that depends a lot on the purchase price, right? 4% of not very much might not be enough, but 4% of a lot, could be a little too much as well, leaving too much on the table. And the second thing is that the inferences of the context of a lost MIT situation could be very different from just a typical seller, right? So lost MIT, obviously they want cash for a gazillion reasons, which we're not going to go into. That'll be a whole separate episode. But if you're just a seller, you might not care too much, right? You might not be stuck with time, or there might not be deferred maintenance, or you might not be worried about whether or not it's going to appraise. For all those reasons, you might actually go for the higher amount of somebody who's procuring a loan. So again, it's going to totally depend, case-by-case basis. I always love referring to that because I thought it was a nice little, almost like a little ding, like something you could just sort of remember and sort of tap into with the 4% rule, the traction that most cash would get you. The reality is this. This is where the rubber meets the road in San Diego County anyway, is that if you're peddling cash, you can always expect to get a little bit of a discount. There's no question, right? No question about that. 4 or 5 different reasons for that to be so. Hit us up with a private message if you want to know what those reasons are. But really what it comes down to is the condition of the home, right? So if you're dealing with a cracked slab, if you're dealing with functional deferred maintenance, any kind of obsolescence like a roof that's caving in or actively leaking, or just a disgusting turd bomb on the inside that just scares everybody else away, and probably also a lender as well when they go do an appraisal and like, oh my God, I'm seeing all these costs to cure that are starting to rack up, and you're going to have to get these fixed and addressed by somebody before I'm going to give you $1. And then the seller, I got a little excited apparently, and then the seller's insolvent and they can't put a dime towards it. You're in a tough situation. So for those deals, they typically default to cash. And then the other one, which I love bumping into for my buyers, is sellers that just don't want to be on the market. And that might sound crazy to you, maybe, but there's a lot of people that really hate the idea of their home being a saloon door, right? That people are just flying into in and out, tracking all their disgusting shoes and germs around the house, and they don't want anything to do with it. And they'll just take a healthy cash offer, even though they know it's cooked into a discount, so they can eschew having to be an actual seller with a sign in your yard. Disgusting. Okay, well, let's go number 2, Greg.
Pun intended.
Whoa! Ding!
All right, so this is from the Quora forums. In the age of the internet, are real estate agents becoming obsolete?
Ooh, I love that thought. So this is my own soapbox. This is my own personal op-ed on this. Is that I think that forever, right? Forever, as long as this trade has been around, real estate agents and like loan officers and people that get mortgages have been insulated, okay? And I think that finally this big disruptor called the internet is taking off. And finally replacing, and it's going to continue to replace, a lot of the inefficiencies of this process of buying and selling a home and getting financing. And so I love this. I love the fact, I'm not scared of this at all. I welcome it with big, huge, open, bear hug arms. Okay? Because I'm actually probably in the silent minority that believes that there is a ton of inefficiencies. And I think that for the most part, most people do get overpaid for the work that they do. I think that the bar for getting a real estate license is really low. And if you just happen to say the right, I want to say slimy, but like, clever, we'll say clever thing to the right person at the right time, and they're in the right situation, dare we even maybe elbow and say some people kind of use that in the manipulating kind of way or whatever, and you get them to sign some kind of contract. Like, you can literally backdoor your way into a nice healthy ransom for just literally sitting in between two people that want to do something, right? So I think that model, its days are numbered. Thank the Lord. Okay? And I think that technology is going to continue to take away, like a mountain that's building, take away more and more and more and more and more responsibilities that are outside, like an external locus of control of the actual buyer or seller. They kind of just believe like there's a smoke and mirror, like weird, like sorcery stuff that goes on, and they're like, oh my God, I got the house. Like, thank God that transparency, we use transparency. That's a big part of our brand. Like, we will psychologically flood our clients with things until they actually tell us, hey man, tone down on the stuff right now, I'm cool, right? And then we'll gladly back off because we believe in transparency. We think that's a big part of what we do. But it's going to take away a lot of that stuff, and it's just going to leave two things which will always be around, and I believe are going to cost more than what they do right now, which is, should I wait for it? The elimination of a lot of hacks. Okay? So this concept of like whenever it's a boom economy and all of a sudden everybody gets their freaking real estate license, right? Thank goodness there's going to be no room for those guys or girls anymore. That's a good thing. The second thing is very high level consulting skills, negotiating skills, and then overseeing and managing of all the transactional details. Those three things are going to be worth more and more valuable than ever before, especially as technology replaces so much more of that typical conversation. So there's never going to be a point in time where the agent becomes obsolete, but luckily technology is going to replace all of the ineffective and inefficient processes, which right now will kill the experience of a typical home buyer and home seller in this market.
Better get better.
Better get better. That's right, man. What does Steve Martin say when someone asked him, what was his secret to success? And he started in stand-up, of course. He said, be so good that no one can ignore you. And I love that thought. So that's a good place to wrap, right?
Yeah.
We'll call that good for the week. Gang, you're up next week. So obviously we got some good questions from the Zillow and Quorum for us. We want to hear from you though. So if you have, you or somebody you might know actually who's got some home buyer or home seller questions, use the hashtags, lob them over to us. We'll get them answered and asked next week on Ask Jesse How. Thanks for hanging out.